and I am the Hero Seeker.
Ayo, it's Kay the Hero Seeker, and today we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia, guys. I know I'm a little bit late, but I just finished watching episode 50, and I figured since this episode was a little bit slower, it was a good episode, but it was, not very action-packed, I would go ahead and talk about episode 49 and 50 in this video. So let's get started. Episode 49, called One for All. Pretty much, it was the big fight, the big, first fight that we've seen All Might really go all out between him and his, longtime nemesis, All for One. They clashed in front of, the whole world. They had the helicopter up there filming it, so, a few things happened. We pretty much watched. We were pretty much in the seat of Izuku as we watched All Might take on this villain, who, if I may say, All for One has some pretty ridiculous powers. And we learned a lot of really interesting things. A lot of interesting things were confirmed for us in this episode, as we saw All Might literally give it his all to fight All for One and actually walk away with the W, leaving Izuku with that message that only he understood over the big screen in the city. So that was pretty much what happened in that episode. And in this most recent episode that came out this past Saturday, episode 50, called The End of the Beginning, Beginning of the End, which I think is a pretty cool title. It was pretty much, like I said, a more kind of slice of life episode where we saw Eraserhead and All Might going around to the different parents. We got to see, I forget her name, but the girl with the earjack quirk, who I, think is pretty cool. We saw her parents. We saw Bakugo's parents. And it's funny how Bakugo looks pretty much exactly like his mom, but with the hair design of his father, who seemed pretty beta. So that was pretty humorous. And then we saw All Might go to Izuku's house and talk to his mom, and that we got some real, heart-touching things there in that moment. But the main thing to take away is that in response to the growing threat of the League of Villains and the attack, most recently the attack in the forest during their training, all the way back to the attack at the USJ where we first saw All Might beat up that Nomu, they're gonna have all the UA students now live on campus in dorms to kind of regroup and gather all the potential targets in one place to make them easier to defend, which makes sense. Izuku's mom wasn't too excited about that, as we've been seeing in the past few episodes. She's not a huge fan of seeing her son come home with broken arms, broken fingers, like every day. But eventually All Might was able to win her over and to convince her to allow Izuku to come back or go with All Might and continue his education at UA. So that's pretty much what we saw between the past two episodes. We saw All Might's fight, and this past episode was kind of more of the aftermath. So let's get into some key moments here. There are some things that stuck out between these two episodes that seem like really important pieces of information going forward. First of all, I think this is the first time that we, in the anime, have gotten the confirmation that All Might's instructor was a woman named Nana Shimura. But not only that, All for One also revealed during their fight that Nana Shimura is the grandmother of Shigaraki. So I know a lot of people who read the manga. I don't keep up with the manga. I really like the anime, so I'm trying to stay with the anime and not read ahead, because I've heard that the anime is a pretty good adaptation of the manga, so I'm gonna just stick with the anime. And any of you guys who read the manga, please don't spoil me in the comments. But if you don't read the manga like me, keep up with my reviews, keep up with the show, and we can have some interesting discussions. We can brainstorm about where this is going to go in the future. But I really do wonder how that's going to play out. It seemed like All Might was really, really attached to his mentor, because as soon as he found out that Shigaraki was her relative, he kind of lost it. And even in episode 50, we saw that he's still bothered by the fact that All for One, the symbol of evil, is pretty much using his mentor's grandchild to become the new symbol of evil. He's grooming Shigaraki to become, the leader of the League of Villains. So that was a pretty big tidbit that got dropped in episode 49. The United States of Smash, I thought, was awesome. So cool. And I wonder if Izuku is going to eventually learn his mentor's technique, or if he's going to come up with something new. But regardless, the United States of Smash, that was probably one of the coolest things we've seen in the show to date. And then I kind of touched on this earlier, but All Might passing the torch, his words that were specifically meant for Izuku over the big screen, that was a very symbolic moment, and we kind of saw that addressed in episode 50, as All Might is officially going around saying that, yeah, he's retired, he's done, his sparks of one for all, they're gone. He can still buff up for just a second, but he'll immediately poof back to his weak form, which is now public knowledge. His weak form got revealed in episode 49, and now we see in episode 50 that he's just walking around all the heroes who didn't know before. He's interacting with them. I'm assuming, all the civilians, they're going to be seeing a lot more of All Might's weak form, which, that's bad news. Like they were saying in the episodes, that's pretty bad news, because now the villains know for certain that he's done. It wasn't a temporary thing because he was in such an intense battle, or this is something permanent. His weak form is what he's going to be going forward, and he's retired. So we'll see how that plays out. Episode 50 opened with an interesting moment, I thought, where the police were discussing how they're going to, rebuild their image in the eyes of the public. Kind of going into what I was saying before about, the public now knows that the symbol of peace is no more. They were addressing the fact that they kind of put all their eggs in one basket with All Might. Now that All Might is publicly, no more, they're kind of in a tough spot. So we'll see what they do with that. We'll see what their plan is going forward. I mentioned earlier that UA has decided that it'd be safer to have all the students in dorms. I thought this was kind of funny. The thing that I like about My Hero is that it's kind of, it takes a lot of elements from Western superheroes, from, Eastern manga, and also, that kind of specific genre of high school anime and manga. And it seems like they keep going further and further into that trope. So now all the students are going to be in dorms, so I'm sure that's going to lead to a whole bunch of hijinks and, what's his name? Grape Juice? I call him Sticky Balls, so get used to that. I think Sticky Balls is going to have a lot of fun now that he's in the same building with his female peers. So we'll see how that plays out. Another thing that I thought I needed to mention is that All Might said that at this moment he's going to start putting all of his effort, all of his focus into training Deku to be the next symbol of peace. So I wonder if we're going to see Deku master his full cowling, like I said earlier, maybe learn the United States of Smash. I don't know, but I'm excited to see where Deku's training goes from here, because as much as I like Deku's development, I really enjoyed the fact that he had this almighty power, no pun intended, but every time he would use it, he would break his arm, break his fingers, what have you. But I kind of want to see Deku whoop some tail. Now, I want to see him learn his powers, whoop some tail, and truly master One for All, especially now that All Might is down for the count. And the last key moment, I thought, was actually after the credits. They had a little snippet of All for One monologuing as he was in this prison. I guess it's called Tartarus. It's like a super security villain prison. And it seems like this may have all been part of his plan all along in order to make Shigaraki become independent. I don't know, this isn't confirmed or anything, but I'm just kind of speculating now that he's been playing fourth dimensional chess with All Might and all of the heroes this entire time. I don't know if he meant to get beaten or if he was truly trying to kill All Might in that fight, but it seems either way, this is kind of working out to his favor, because we did get to see a brief glimpse of Shigaraki, and he sure does look menacing, so I guess we'll see how that plays out. but that's some very exciting stuff. The main things to take away from this episode is that they're really hyping up the conflict between the League of Villains. Like I said, Shigaraki's being groomed to be the new symbol of evil, while Izuku is being groomed to be the new symbol of peace. So they're really hyping up that conflict. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read the manga, but I don't know if they're going to do a time skip at some point to where these guys are full-grown heroes and villains, or if they're going to maybe kind of fast forward through the rest of their high school years, because these guys aren't going to be able to be real heroes while they're still in high school. That's been established. They can't even go out and fight without permission of their teachers, so we'll see how that works. But the story parallels I think are genius. This is what makes, My Hero stand out from the other generic, superhero, supervillain stories, is that they're really focusing on paralleling the growth of the villains with the growth of the heroes, which is not something we see very often. And I think it's going to lead to very poignant fight scenes, very poignant moments in the future between Shigaraki and Deku specifically, but between all of the classes. I think Dabi, is the guy with the blue fire. He's going to be a big antagonist for probably Half Ice. I call him Half Ice, but Shoto. And the girl who sucks the blood through the needle, she's insane, is going to be a pretty good foil to Izuku's, little girlfriend, Gravity Girl. I'm calling these guys my own unique names, but we'll see how it goes. I think her name is Uravity or something like that. I'll call her Gravity Girl. But the main questions that I have coming out of this is, will we be seeing in the near future Deku learning some really cool tricks with One For All now that his training is getting serious? And also, on that same note, since they're paralleling the storyline so expertly, I wonder if Shigaraki is also going to develop his quirk in some way. We haven't really seen him use his quirk too much since Season 1, but he has a pretty cool quirk, Decay. I think that's pretty interesting, so we'll be seeing how that develops in the future. And the question I want to ask you guys in the comments is, Bakugo. What is Bakugo thinking? We saw at the end of episode 49, he was watching as Deku was crying at All Might's message, and then in episode 50, he had a brief moment with All Might where he was inquiring. He was asking what Deku is to All Might, and All Might obviously said that Deku's just a normal student, just like everyone else. But Bakugo could see through the lies. So I wonder what he's thinking in his head. Is this going to lead to him actually becoming a villain at some point, or is he just going to work harder to become the #1 hero? We'll see. But this has been Kay, the Hero Seeker, and I'm signing off. Till next time, guys.